Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. This is Mr. Walter with Around the World with Mr. Walter. Thank you for being here, enjoying this great Monday morning, Monday afternoon, actually, here Mr. Walter Around the World. So, thank you for being here. We're going to have a great show. We're going to go into space. Again, you know how much I love space, and you know how much that I've been trying to make sure that we kind of keep on exploring not only the world but also different places around. So, and we're going to take a quick quiz on space exploration, testing your knowledge and milestones of the history, space travel, and exploration. Maybe we can learn a little bit about space. And also later today, we're going to do just a quick activity just to make sure that we keep adding on our portfolio of activities that we have and just adding to our portfolio of all the places that we have been. So if you've been with me, this is almost like this 15th or 16th episode. We have gone to Egypt. We have gone to Machu Picchu. We have gone underwater. We've gone deep space and we explored the moon. We have gone to different places. So thank you for joining. Please come in and enjoy with us and make sure that you come in and comment on the chats. Thank you for being with us. So without any further ado, we're going to start and we're going to move through, our exploration of space. So, all right. So let's go. Let me take some of these pictures off and start, just kind of moving out this one and this one. And let's go exploring a little bit in space. All right, so here's our world, and we can just gonna take a quick look of our old hell area, and we can take right there. Let's kind of zoom in where we always start, and we start here in Dallas, Texas, all the way. So here we start like right around there. There's Dallas, just from a sky view, and we start from our offices in Plano. So right from Dallas, we're going to go all the way out to space, and we're going to start looking at different places. So the first question that we have today as we move along, and you can actually see the answers on the globe, and I'll be able to just kind of monitor whatever you think during our chat. So if you know the answer, by all means, just make sure that you have set up in chat. And thank you, Jonathan, for being here with us. And Mr. Adam, I know he's going to be joining us soon, as well as all the rest of you guys. So thank you for joining in and making sure that everything is here on this wonderful Monday afternoon. So the first question that we have is, where is the world's largest optical telescope located? It's really interesting. The world's largest. There's a lot of optical telescopes that we use to take pictures of the moon and the rest of our galaxies. So where is the best or the largest optical telescope located? So we have a few answers. We can go to the Canary Islands, South Africa, or Chile. So here here it is. So let's start with the Canary Islands. So the Canary Islands are way up here, very close to Spain and the northern part of Africa. South Africa is all way down there. That's answer B. And answer C is in Chile. So I actually don't know. So I'm actually taking the quiz with you. So where do you think that the world's largest optical telescope is located? So we'll take a quick poll. Let's see, Jonathan, where do you think, and Mr. Adam, where do you guys think that this is located? And Nikki, if you're in, I know, thank you so much for joining in. So, where is this telescope located? So I think it makes a lot of sense to be way up here in the Canary Islands. I think it's a place where where we have a great open look, but there's other places, maybe that in Chile it could also be one of the places. So my final answer, I think I'll go to Chile. See if that's it. Am I right? Dang, wrong answer. See, I should have gone with my first guess. All right, so my first guess was the Canary Islands. So yes, the Gran Telescopio Canarias, the GTC, which looks more than it was built more than a decade ago, observed faint halo stars 500 million light years away. So I'll show you a quick picture, and there it is. And amazing how the telescope just has the largest telescope that we have to actually explore our world. So, and very interesting, and you can see all the see the size of it, right at the edge you see a road, and you see way at the bottom you see a little car, and that is a huge telescope as we kind of move along and see the full picture of a telescope. All right, well, first one, wrong answer for me, which is, and you can actually see the telescope now as the bay doors are open. You can see a huge, beautiful place here in the Canary Islands, and how that has become, I thought it was in Chile, but no, it's actually in the Canary Islands. So you can take a quick look, and let's kind of pan around and see, so telescopes are placed on one of the highest points, and you can see all the clouds way at the bottom, just very sandy and rocky area, and all the relay stations way on top. So here it is, the Gran Telescopio Canarias, the GTC, which is built more than a decade ago, observing stars 500 million light years away. 500 million light years. Incredible. All right, so where are the Canary Islands anyways, right? As we kind of look way back, see right here, and if we can stop spinning the world for a little bit, we can see that the Canary Islands is right off the edge of Africa. Right there's Spain, there's Africa, and a real open area, which I should have known. I should have known that the telescope is going to be in this great open area. So, all right, let's keep on moving. Next question. Question number 2. All right, and the question number 2 is actually really interesting as well. The question number 2 is, where did Apollo 11 launch from? Where did it launch from? So we actually did have a great exploration. We actually went to the moon and explored Apollo 11's the full area that they had in the spacewalks as well. So the next question that we have is, where did Apollo 11 launch from? So it's a great question. We have 3 answers. All right. So 3 answers of where it could have been. So we think that the Apollo 11 was launched from Maryland in the Goddard Space Flight Center? Was it sent from Johnson Space Center here in Texas, or Kennedy Space Center in Florida? Oof. So great questions. Where was this launch from? Where did this element came from? All right. So let's see. Where do we think Apollo 11 was launched from? I think it was done from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. I think that was it, and I think I'm pretty confident that that's where they launched it from. So let's see. Was it Florida? Very well. Nicely done. All right, nicely done. Yes. So it is from the Kennedy Space Center right in Florida. And as we move down to the Kennedy Space Center, right, we will be able to kind of just look all the way through. And there it is. From space, we're using Google Earth, and we can see the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, and that is where Apollo 11 was actually launched from. So a very interesting, very interesting point of where that came from, and a nice piece of quiz and trivia from our history of space exploration. All right, so as we kind of move along, we'll actually keep on going and see what the next question is. The next question is, what type of animal did the French send to space for the first time in October 1963? Ooh, great question. What type of animal did the French send to space for the first time in October 1963? So, was it a monkey? Was it a cat? Or was it a snake? So it's, what kind of animal do you think that the French sent? So I do think that maybe, it's a monkey. We actually think and have seen. So, here is France right at the edge. And this comes from our question, and question number 3, which is, what type of animal did the French send right into space in the first time in 1963? I think it was a monkey. I think it was a monkey. Nicole, Adam, Jonathan, if you're in the chat, what kind of animal do you think that was? So very interesting. So Nicole says that that she thinks that it was a monkey that was sent in 1963 by the French. So I think I agree. I think that's that's what it is. So let's see. A monkey. Wrong answer. So close. Nicole, what happened? It was a wrong answer. So no, actually, Fléchette, the French feline, was launched 100 miles above the Earth in a Varick rocket. So it was sent in a rocket similar to those displayed at the Museum of the Air and Space in La Bourg in France. 15 minutes later, she landed safely. All right, so, the first, in 1963, the French sent a cat, and it was launched 100 miles above the Earth, and then 15 minutes later, she landed safely. So, you can see right here in the museum, you can actually see the rockets and some of the prototypes, as well as the actual rockets that were sent into space, just from the vantage point. And you see that a lot of countries do space exploration and have all these satellites and so forth, and this is the French museum. But yes, in 1963, the French feline Fléchette was launched 100 miles above the Earth, and then 15 minutes later it came right back down. So very interesting. A great, close. I got 2 wrong answers out of 3. Come on, help me out. Let's come out and do a little bit more in terms of our space quiz in history. All right, question number 4. Question number 4 is the first reported case of space debris hitting someone happened in which city? So all the space debris that was happening, and just comes down, and if it doesn't burn up in the atmosphere, it's gonna land and crashes right on Earth, right? Which it at some point has been a big problem. So the question comes and says, the first reported case of space debris hitting someone on Earth happened in which city? So here's our few answers that we have. Did it happen in Italy? All right, so A, there is Italy right there, and you can see it by the size, like it looks like a big boot. So was it in Italy? Was it in Tulsa, Oklahoma? Very close to us, actually. So was it in Tulsa, Oklahoma? And there's, was it there that space debris hit someone? Or was it in Lagos in Nigeria? So let's look where Nigeria is. There is Nigeria in Lagos. So what do you guys think? Where did the first reported case of space debris hitting someone on Earth happen? In which city? So I think, let's see, Italy. It could be, but it's kind of like I'm not sure if Italy could be a good answer. You know, you have, even though it's a big country, you still have all that landmass and all that water around it. Not quite sure. The second thing is, Lagos in Nigeria. I think it's another candidate, but I also think it has too much water around. So the chances of actually hitting the small space, right, might be. So Nikki says that maybe it's in Oklahoma. Okay, maybe that could be. That's one of the answers. So let's see. Let me comment back to Nikki and say you think is in Oklahoma. Do you think it's in Oklahoma, Nikki? Think it's in Oklahoma? Maybe. Maybe. All right, so let's see. Maybe it's in Oklahoma. Let's trust and let's see where Oklahoma is. So that as we move, there it is, right in the middle. So it seems like if it's space debris was going to hit anywhere, it would hit a landmass. And the United States is so big, and that seems right in the middle. So I'm going to trust Nicole as well and says Oklahoma. Yes, there it is. So while walking in the park, Lori Williams was struck on the shoulder by a 6-inch piece of debris from a NASA launch rocket on January in 1997. Wow. So in 1997, Will was walking right at this park in Oklahoma, and right at the shoulder he was hit by debris that came from a rocket that was launched in January 22nd in 1997. So amazing. The rocket flew. It kind of just jettisoned all the different parts, and after it did, it just some of them were just came right back down the atmosphere. Most of the debris burns up, but this one it didn't. So it landed, and Lori Williams was struck on the shoulder, 6-inch piece of debris. So that's like about this big, right? So it was hit. Wow, amazing! Imagine your luck, right? As that happens. So here's the picture of Oklahoma City, and incredible, right? It could have hit any building, but it just landed in a park and hit someone. Very interesting. All right, good job, Nikki. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for playing as we explore and have this quiz of space and all the rest. So as we were looking, we're gonna turn right back, and there it is as we just move all the way. That's the United States, and that is where this question comes from. All right, let's go to the next question and see what we have in store. So, 5th question. It is, where is the world's oldest meteor impact crater? Ooh, good question. Where is the world's oldest meteor impact crater? So, no, that's awesome. So, well, let's see. We have 3 possible options, and 2 of them are actually pretty close together. That gives me a kind of a hint, maybe. So, is it in Sweden, in Dalen crater? So, is it the Dalen crater here in Sweden? So, here's Switzerland, here's Sweden, and here we have all the rest of Europe. Here we have Italy, we have Spain, we have all the rest. Russia's right back here. So this is the northern part of Europe. Then we have Estonia, is the Kali crater. So Estonia is right here. Is it there where the world's oldest meteor impact crater is? Or if it's not in Europe, is it all the way in South Africa? So we can move all the way back down. right back down in South Africa. All right, so a great question. Where is the oldest meteor impact crater? Interesting, interesting. So as we kind of move along and today and we actually look at the different questions that we're having, let's show you the impact crater. And there it is, right? You see some of the cities, but you see how huge the impact of that crater was. So the question is, where is it? Where's the oldest meteorite impact crater in the world? I think it has to be South Africa. South Africa is just, again, I think it's a huge landmass, and I think it's just, that big open area. And maybe, Europe, I think it's just kind of very specific. Even though, they're giving you two answers that might be very close, I still think it's South Africa. All right, what do you think? Where's everybody, right? So let's see where that is. Let's go to South Africa. Is it there? All right, good job. Perfect. It is, the Vredenfort Dome in South Africa formed 2 billion years ago. At 185 miles across, is the world's largest as well. So an incredible impact crater, 185 miles across, and it was formed 2 billion years ago. So as our Earth was hit by this incredible meteor, and it left the impact crater that is just here in South Africa. Incredible. Good job. So where is South Africa anyways? So South Africa is at the bottom section of the African continent, and we can see some of them. So there's Africa, the African continent, there's India, and we can look over and we can see Asia. And as we go around the world, here's the United States, Central America, here's South America, Australia is way back down here as well, we can mention it. And then we see that way up here is Europe, and then we have the North and South Pole. Good job. All right, so South Africa, that's the where the as we take a quiz on space exploration, we're going to look around. And before we go to the next few questions, let me show you our activity for today. So our activity for today is it's pretty easy. So we're going to be making just the planet Saturn, which I think is one of the most interesting planets that there is. So we'll need, you can see right here, we'll need some cardboard, some scissors, as well as some tape and color pencils as well if you want to color it. And the activities are actually pretty easy to do. So just get a piece of cardboard and just make sure that you cut it. You can have bigger pieces as well and cut it down. And grab just your tape. It can be big rolls or smaller rolls as well. And we're going to use the inner inside for the planet, and then we're going to do the outer edge for the rings. So once you start using with that just a marker, we'll start driving and drawing the inside section, and then we'll go the outside section. And once you do that, you'll be able to have, the two areas of the interior and the outer rings. So it's really easy. Then you can, with that, just trusty scissors. Make sure that you always be careful with scissors. I'm going to cut around the edge, and we'll cut the inside. So what I do is that I just cut one section all the way through up to the edge, and then use that edge to cut around the center part. So let me do that real quick as we start exploring and cutting around the edge. So once we do that, we'll be able to do one of these interesting activities. So as you can see, being very careful to just follow the edges, and you can use any type of cardboard. I'm using just regular box cardboard, but I've used old pizza boxes and so forth. So here we go. Here it is, the first section. So this is, is going to be our planet. And as you can see, we cut one section and just did just a straight cut, and then we're just going to cut around this one as well. And what's really interesting about it is that you can do it two ways. I typically like to just cut it again right in the middle, so we can have two halves. Here's one and then another, and then cut along the edge. It's a lot easier to cut along the edge. And perfect. So, and it's also a lot easier once you cut along the edge to be able to color in later. All right. So here we go. We got the first ring. We have our planet, and we're just going to cut the other half of the ring. And let me cut it. There you go. So let me start cutting that as well. And you'll see that it'll be very easy to then put it together. There we go. So here's what we got. We got two halves of the rings, and then we have our planet. So in order to actually build the ring around, so you see how that is going to just have those two rings, but if you place them together, you'll see that they won't really fold. So the best way to do it is just cut a little bit your planet, even a little bit of the edges, just a little tiny sliver. Just make sure that it fits well as the rings are being placed. I only cut a few edges because we don't need the full circle to be cut. So just cutting the few edges around, and we'll be able to have that space between those two rings. So they should fit just like this. And you have one section, another section. So from the back, the first thing we're going to do is going to tape the rings together. So they just take a little piece of tape, and we'll be able to put them together. Since they already fit, it's really easy for them to tape them together, and I'll show you how they look. So from the back, you tape them right back, and now we'll do the same thing at the other edge. We'll do the same thing at the other edge. So we now have the ring right back, taped right from the back. And now comes the cool part. So the cool part is, how do we make the rings to slant? Right? How do we make them to slant in such a way that we can then bend them in such a way? So once you have it right in the middle, you see how the edge, how does that work? How does that being able? So let me show you a little trick right from the back. So you can tape across a straw, or just I used a wooden shish kebab, and I cut it and then paste it across, not only on each edge but also in the middle. And once that is done, I'm able to just turn that, and we are able to have our Saturn planet. Really cool, huh? So once we do that, we can actually use the other part of a shish kebab, and you can use that Q-tip or any of those things as well. And once we paste it from the back, you see that? we have our own little Saturn, just like the picture. So there it is. Saturn as a small little activity to have some fun with it. Then you can paint it. You know, now that I have a second one, it'll be a lot of fun because I'm going to be able to, you know, do and place two of them together. So let me do that right away and just paste, actually just tape the two edges of, you know, Saturn right back and right back on the back of the one that I just made. And you can see I have the one that I just made right here and the one that I had already made. I taped it right from the back, and now I'm just going to turn it, and sure enough, there's another Saturn with its ring. So cool. Now I have, you know, two of them to put together, and I'll just, you know, keep placing them together as well. All right, so a fun little activity. It's really easy. You know how it is. You just use the interior of the ring, the exterior ring from any tape, cut them up, and then paste them together in such a way that you can actually fold them right in the middle. And the key, interesting part is the back. So there it is. I'm just going to leave that up for a second, and just so you can see how that looks right from the back. All right, so let's move right back to our quizzes and see. So we were actually talking a little bit about the biggest impact crater that happened. So this in South Africa, 185 miles across. It is the world's largest. So let's go to the next question here as we keep exploring. All right, who was the first person in space? Great question. So is not the first person that landed on the moon, is the first person in space. So was it John Glenn? Was it Alan Shepard? Or was it Yuri Gagarin? So who was it? And you know, as we take a quick look at our Earth, you know, imagine that. Imagine being the first person that kind of flew out to space. So who do you think it was? Who do you think it was? So was it John Glenn? Was it Alan Shepard? Or was it Yuri Gagarin? So I know this one. I know that, you know, it's an incredible feat to be able to actually do a few orbits around the Earth, and I'm very sure it was, you know, the Soviet cosmonaut was launched into space aboard this Vostok 1 in April 1961. So it was launched, and you know, you can see a picture of the type of rocket that he was in. Imagine that 1961, this Soviet cosmonaut was launched into space, and so Yuri was launched into space aboard the Vostok #1. So an incredible feat, amazing how, you know, the rocket, it was launched here from Kazakhstan, and then did a few orbits in space, and then came right back down. Amazing feat in 1961. All right, so we're not that bad. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions. We've gotten 2 wrong so far, but we're still pretty good. So if we can take the last 3, that'd be another great quiz of our history of space. Here we go. Next question. So, as you know, there's definitely several space agencies that can help out in terms of the exploration of space. So, in which country is home to the ISRO space agency. All right, so which country is the ISRO space agency? So it's really interesting because we always talk a little bit about NASA and its ability to actually provide us with a lot of stuff, but there are other space agencies, and NASA works alongside all these around the world. So one of them is space agency, the ISRO. So do you think it's in India? So where is India, anyways? India is right here. Is it, in the Ivory Coast? So right here. Or is it in Italy? ISRO. Where do you think this space agency is from? Any ideas? So, the ISRO space agency. And I don't want to give it away by clicking on the image of the rocket. So let's go for India. Here it is. Great job. So the Indian Space Research Organization, the ISRO, headquartered in Bengaluru, India, launched the first rocket in 1965. So India, has also been part of our space exploration, and it's one of the research organizations here in the world, and it works in tandem with NASA and with other space agencies. It's headquartered in India, in Bengaluru, and also launched the first sounding rocket in 1965. So, so it is great. Yes. So Nikki got it right. It is in India, and also you can see some of the rockets that were made and some of the engines as well in this, space organization, space research here in India. And here's another picture of the rockets. All right. So we got two more questions before we finish off our, photosphere and having trivia from space and kind of finding our space information, as well as some of the questions of history. So we got a couple more questions, and let's go to the next question. The next question 8 out of 9, and we're actually doing pretty good. Which space agency, so this is about another space agency, is credited with completing the manned space facility Kibo on the International Space Station? So as you know, the space station is built with different modules, and these different modules that come together, it forms a larger station. So let me show you a picture of one of the images of a module in the module Kibo. So this is another one of the research modules, and you can see the space station as it's being built and modules being added, and you actually see the solar panels, and there's a great Earth and a great picture from one of the portals right there. So as we do that, which space agency? So I guess the last few questions that we're having is just for us to let us know that there are other countries working together to actually build and explore space. So which space agency is credited with completing the manned space facility Kibo on the International Space Station? So Nikki says that it might be the Japanese. I think so too. The JAXA, Japan, or it can be also the Russians as well. The Roscosmos, which is another space agency in Russia, or the CNSA in China, which could be. So was it the Japanese, which is right here? So here is Japan in our world. Here's China right on the side. right there, back down there is Australia. Here's the Philippines. Here we have the part of China as well, and then we have right up there we have sections of Russia. So I'll agree with Nicole. So and we'll go for Japan. There it is, absolutely. So the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, first contribution to the International Space Station, the ISS, was designed for 4 astronauts to conduct experiments. So it was a great job that they added another section that way so astronauts can actually do a lot more of the experiments that we have. And here we having some of the in the research facility in Expo. You can see here in the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, the JAEA, which is you can see some of the rockets. You can see some of the different elements of how they have been working together. And here we have the prototype of Kibo. It has, an incredible space. All these look like great containers, and you got to remember that these are just, flown out to space, and then they are placed together to keep adding to our International Space Station. So lots of countries that are collaborating to make sure that we keep exploring space. It is incredible. This is how it looks from inside, and you actually see some of the protective structures that go inside of some of these experimental areas and all these incredible works of engineering to actually get them up in space. Excellent. We go to the last question then. The last question is, where in the world is the Mars Desert Research Station? So as you know, we are moving forward, kind of understanding, exploring Mars, which is another around the world with Mr. Walter will do. It's not really around the world. We'll do around Mars actually in that world, and we will be kind of moving and understanding that there are places here which we use for research. So where is the Mars Desert Research Station? Is it very close to us in Houston, Texas? So, here we are right there. Is the Mars Research Station in Houston? Is it all the way through in Iceland? All the way back up there? Or is it in Hanksville in Utah? So a great last question that we have, that we can definitely understand. So it has to be an arid place, a place that it's it has open areas, very desert-like, in order for the astronauts to actually walk around and make sure that they have a great research station. So I think I'm torn. I don't think is way up there in Iceland. I think it's either here in Houston, Texas, or it's in Utah. So Houston, it could be. It's very have very great open areas, but also Utah has a lot of open area as well. So I'll take a shot in the dark, and we will go to Houston, Texas. Oh no, it's not. So the Mars Research Station is actually in Utah. This is where crews perform spacewalks in mock spacesuits simulating life in the red planet. And you can see in the desert how they have the solar panels. They have all the infrastructures to live on Mars, and you can see all that research that is being done, as well as some of the astronauts and how they actually walk in full spacesuits across this incredibly hot place. So very interesting that is in Utah that we have the Mars Research Station. All right, so well, we got that one wrong, but as you know, we learned each one. So it is. So we got 1-3 wrong. Oh, let's see our score. Our score is we are a ground controller. 6 out of 9. So we still need some more training before we're ready to blast off into space. So we can head to the Gobi Desert and practice China's Sea Space project in the Mars simulation. So maybe we can do that. So this is the Gobi Desert in China. And here again is our world as we kind of move right back and do a little bit of space exploration. So before we fly back down to our little home here in Texas, we are, let me tell you what's coming up. So we have New Minds TV, and New Minds TV is coming up with this is Around the World with Mr. Walter, an interactive globe exploration of we see geography, music, and different places through using Google Earth and Google Space as well. At 3 o'clock we have the Steam Train with Mr. Dorian. This is live STEAM learning and games, so it's a lot of fun. So make sure you stay. That's coming up just in a few minutes. At 4 o'clock, we have from the Muni Vault, which is students from K to 5th grade, classic puzzles, brain twisters, as well as being presented in an interactive manner by Mr. Ben, one of the founders of New Minds Enrichment. And then at 5, we have the closing messages for parents, announcements of how to keep on going, how to use all these resources that we have, and all us inspirators, having lots of fun, being able to bring you some of our STEAM lessons through geography, through activities, and having all that. So make sure that you check all these things out. Thanks for tuning in to real, inspired, live content. Remember that always pursue your passion until it becomes your talent. So this is one of my passions, like Mr. Adams said, and hopefully we'll be able to actually play online with whoever wants to join us. So I am one of the Dungeon Masters, and we play all sorts of games. We play Dungeons and Dragons, and we play Star Wars, and we play all sorts of things. So it's been a lot of fun. So let's turn right back to where we are. We're going to turn the globe around, and we're going to land where we typically start, which is our slice of the world, and here in Dallas, Texas. So as we kind of move right back into where we are, we're just going to look in, and we'll just take a quick view of all the great places that we have. So we're actually starting from Japan. Here's South Korea. As we move slowly, we have Mongolia and China. We have Thailand. We have the Philippines right back there. Malaysia. We have Singapore, Indonesia. We have all the way down is Australia. Then we have India. This whole area which we actually been traveling. We see some of the other places like Iran and Pakistan, as well as we have Turkey, we have Jordan and Israel. We've been to Saudi Arabia, and we've been to Egypt as well in some of the activities that we've done before. And then as we move right back, we see there's Greece. We actually did a full show in Greece, kind of trailing Mr. Adams' adventures through the Dungeonverse into Greece. There's Italy and France. All the way up here is Spain and Portugal. Let's see if we keep on. We are moving to Morocco, and we see all the Sudan. We actually were here today as well in Nigeria, in Cameroon, Then we actually moved right in the Central Africa, and we have Uganda and all that. And this is, some of the all the incredible places, Zambia as well. We have South Africa all the way at the bottom, and then we have Madagascar. So, a great little island there that we have to explore. Of course, the movie Madagascar is a lot of fun. So, as we move across the South Atlantic Ocean, we see that there's Brazil and there's Argentina, here's Chile. We go up a little bit more and there's Peru. In Peru, we actually went to Peru for and saw Machu Picchu. We've gone, Colombia and Venezuela. In Venezuela, we actually been there as well. We saw in Puerto Rico some of the great, beautiful, colorful communities. There's Cuba and Dominican Republic. Then we have all the countries in Central America, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua. They have Honduras, El Salvador, and then Guatemala. There's Mexico right there. And then we got the United States. And out of the United States, we are actually moving. And we see here's Texas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Louisiana, Kansas. And then as we move all the way down, we are heading all the way to Dallas, Fort Worth, and we'll go all the way down to some of the places. So here's Dallas Love Field Airport, and there's 75. And see if I got very close to our offices. So as we keep on getting, it should be around here. Our offices here in Dallas, here in Plano. I'm not sure. I lost it today, but just trust me, it's here. So thank you again for joining me. This is Mr. Walter from Around the World. Again, coming up is the steam train with Mr. Dorian, a fun activity. So keep on watching here on New Minds TV. Thank you for joining me, and have a great rest of the afternoon.